Hey everybody, so this morning I did the update on the chickens and the chicken dog attack and all that kind of thing. But I thought now this afternoon I'd come out here and give you an update on what's been going on with the garden. Haven't actually been out here in a couple of weeks to do really any work on the garden. So things have kind of just, done their own thing. And I've lost some stuff because I wasn't out here to pick it. A lot of tomatoes have gone bad and whatnot. But I still have a ton of peppers in here to pick. The butternut squash has gone insane. But I need to start getting in here and cleaning some things up for fall. With the tomatoes, this time of year, things start with tomatoes. They start getting the blight or diseases and just start dying off. They're still going to have green tomatoes on them, and they will still produce, but if you don't keep up with trimming off some of the disease that comes in, it's going to spread to your other plants, which that's what's happened out here to me. Most of the tomatoes, the leaves are pretty brown and dead looking, but they've got like a lot of tomatoes on them. Right here behind me is those yard-long beans, the asparagus beans, as they are also known. After freezing 15 pounds of these things, I got sick of, just cutting up, blanching, and freezing beans. So, and that was off of just a hoop and a half, really. I planted them on these two front hoops. But the one side didn't produce very well. It didn't really do a whole. I only got a few beans off the one side, but the other three sides of the hoop, grew up over the top, and I got all these wonderful things growing in here. But I finally just decided after freezing 15 pounds that was probably enough, and I wanted to then let the rest of them just kind of come in and dry out. So, I don't know if how well it shows on the camera, but a lot of these you'll see are starting to turn brown and getting a little crispy in there. And there's a lot of them that are still green, but I'm gonna let them all dry out. And then once they've all dried out, then I will pick them, and most likely I think I'm gonna use them for like a shelled bean. This is a dual purpose bean. And so you can use them like snap beans when they're younger, but then as they get to this stage where they dry out, you can then, slit them open and pull the beans out, the dried beans out from inside, which you could plant next year. Or you can use the beans in soups and that sort of thing. But because I already have still a lot of these seeds left, I think with the ones I grew this year, I want to try shelling them and then using them like in a bean soup or something, or maybe just eat them like you would, I don't know, like black-eyed peas or something like that, and see how the flavor is with these type of beans. See if I show you some here. I'm gonna break one of these dry ones off. This is a little one. Some of them are much bigger, so I don't know how it's gonna show, but get a couple of these out of here. Anyway, so at this stage, they're just a little dark bean. Yeah, there. So, and I don't know if they're all going to be that dark. Not positive, because it seems like when I planted them, they were kind of a light mottled color, I thought. But maybe I'm confusing them with the scarlet runner beans, which are still growing, and I'm letting them all go to dry to use those as well. And I'll show you those here in a minute. Anyway, I want to get out here and start cleaning up some of these tomatoes, probably pulling out some of the plants that are pretty bad off, picking any of the ripe ones that are still good and haven't gotten bad yet, and then I'll show you some stuff that's going on. So I wanted to show you this here. This is my butternut squash. I can't even walk down this row anymore because my butternut squash grew up over the vines, or the butternut squash vines grew up over the hoops, which are 16-foot hoops, then spread out all over places of the garden. So they've filled up this entire 24-foot row, in addition to being over top of the 16-foot hoops. And then out here, down this row, you can maybe kind of see them there in the back. They grew up over that side around my Mexican torch sunflower, and they've actually grown up into, let's see if I can get through here, past the zinnias and green beans. But so you see them here, they're growing all the way up here to the zinnias. So they've come up from over top the hoop all the way down across this bed, back here, and they've integrated themselves up through the scarlet runner beans. And then they're growing out that way as well, past this other bed. They're actually almost made it out to the grapevines on the other side. So that's on this side. On the other hoop, they actually came up over and grew through the area where the honeyboat squash was, which the honeyboat squash got killed off by the vine borer bugs. But the butternut squash were not affected by the vine borer, and they just kept growing, took over that area. They have grown all the way out across this bed. They're way up here. They grew through this 4 or 5 foot open area, and now this is the cucamelon bed, and they've grown all the way out past the end of the cucamelon bed. I've got little butternut squash coming in still, even though we are only about 4 weeks away from our first frost date. But I've got a lot of monster ones in here that are starting to ripen up. Look at this guy in here. He's massive. I'm excited to see how much that one's going to weigh. There's another one up there hanging off the hoop. I've got more hanging off the top of the hoop here. They're starting to ripen. More up in there. See them hanging down. And I don't know how many are on the ground that have been growing down through that area. So if they all come out good, this should add quite a bit to my weight totals for the garden this year. Last check, I was around 170 pounds of produce out of the garden this year, and that's not going to include what I picked today. And then once all these big heavy squash ripen, I don't know, I might have quite a bit of poundage of produce by the end of the season. So this was one of my fall garden beds, and this has not been very successful. Actually, overall, a lot of my fall garden stuff has not been very successful. This half of the bed, I planted cumin. Nothing came up, no cumin. So I'm not really sure what the deal was with that. I'm gonna maybe try germinating some inside and see if I need to start the plant in a different way than just direct planting it in the soil and the mulch. Maybe I put too much on top. I don't know, I'll have to figure that one out. Over here, I had 3 nice little rows of cilantro going up until about 3 days ago. And I still have a little bit left right here. Rabbits ate the rest. So I might still plant some more because I do have, like I said, about 4 weeks until our first frost date. So maybe I can get some other small plants coming up in here, and I'll have to put maybe some hardware cloth around this to bring up the edge a little higher, because these are my shorter beds and the rabbits do hop in here and will eat anything they can find. But you know, they weren't bothering it for a while, and then all of a sudden they discovered it, and now they are been feasting on it, I guess, for the last couple of days. And we have a couple like little teeny tiny baby rabbits out here, so I think they have been multiplying and now moving into my garden area and eating my fall stuff, because they also ate all of my fall beets. My beets got about that tall, and then I came out the next day and there was nothing. They ate all the beets. So I might try to plant some more beets too, and also put some hardware cloth around those. So this here is the little extra herb bed that I had rebuilt back. If you saw my herb bed build or rebuild back at the beginning of the summer, and I had thrown a lot of different random things in here. Some came up, some did not. My cilantro did really well in here. It's now going to seed, which is fine, because then I will get coriander out of it. Got a couple of random zinnias I had thrown in here, and they bloomed. I put another batch of scarlet runner beans in here. A lot of them are still flowering. The hummingbirds are out here all the time. I got little bumblebees in here. Got some pods coming on now. So they filled up that little wooden trellis thing that I had built. My strawberry calendula came in and bloomed. You can see that there. I've got some radishes in here that I've already pulled some radishes. I had a little bit of dill that came up. Is that on the camera? Yeah. They were tiny, but I still got a little bit out of it. The oregano that I transplanted survived and has put off some new leaves. And even back buried under here, there's some more radishes. And also, the carrots that I planted in here, I think it was atomic orange or something like that, carrots. Most of those did not come up, although a couple of them did. Right here, I've got, looks like 2 carrots that have come up. And I noticed the other day a black swallowtail butterfly larva was on there. They like carrots and dill and that kind of stuff, and it ate off a lot of the greens, but the plants are still surviving. I don't know what the carrots are going to look like when I pull them, but we'll see what turns out with those. But overall, this bed, you know, I planted stuff in a couple of different succession plantings, and overall most of the stuff in this bed did okay. So I'm pretty happy with it. A little bit of everything going on. So now back down here in these rows, the big thing that I've got going on through here for the most part is peppers, mainly poblanos. And some of them have already, I've let go too far, but you know, I still got plenty more in here to pick. And wow, this one's all wrapped around crazy. So you'll see here, get it on the camera, that one's starting to turn a little bit of orange on it. And poblanos, normally they're harvested when they're like a real deep dark green color. But the longer that you leave them on the plant, they'll mature. And over time, some of them will start to turn a little orange, or even, you know, some of them will turn like a kind of a dark red color. And at that point, they will, their spice level sometimes will get a little higher. Poblanos overall are not a very spicy pepper. They run between, I think, 1,000 to 2,000 units on the Scoville scale. So they just have a very mild spice to them. But you may get the random plant that is a little bit spicier, just like jalapenos. You know, I mean, jalapenos have quite a large range, and you get some that are milder and other ones that'll really kick you in the mouth. And whereas poblanos are not going to give you the kind of kick that a jalapeno would, you can get some that may be a little bit spicier than what you want, especially if you're just putting it on a salad. But I mean, generally poblanos, you know, they're used for all kinds of things. You know, I showed you, you know, how I make the stuffed poblanos, or a version of chile rellenos. They weren't, you know, the authentic kind. It's just kind of the way that I make them. But you know, if you dry them, then they're called ancho peppers. And the dried ancho or poblanos, they're used in a lot of times, you know, like you can grind them down, make powders. in ancho sauces, like in mole sauce. So they have a large range of things that you can use them for. You know, you can batter them, fry them, roast them, dry them, batter them, fry them, roast them, dry them, batter them, fry them, roast them, dry them, batter them, fry them, roast them, dry them. Sorry, I was having a little 90s rave flashback there. But I have a lot in here that I'm going to pull, and I'm going to start. I think some of these I'm going to dry, some I will freeze. I will probably also do another batch of chili rellenos, either with the way that I do them with my little recipe, or with like maybe more of an authentic recipe. But I think I'm going to end up with quite a bit here. Oh, here's one. Now look at this one. See how the colors are changing on that one? It's kind of cool looking. But this one, you know, has been on the vine longer, so this one is probably going to be a little bit spicier. And then you get the cool colors with it too. Alright, so I'm going to go through here and pick some peppers and see where we're at. I also have, looks like some more Ring of Fire peppers in here. And then I've got more of my lemon spice jalapenos growing. So, and I still have a bunch of those inside that I really need to get to either pickling or fermenting or something with them. I gotta use them up. So I got some of those in here too. So we have a plethora of peppers to pick today, along with whatever tomatoes, eggplant, and other things I still have going on in here. But you know, here we are almost mid-September, and the garden is still producing, putting out various different things, and I expect it to probably continue to do so until whenever our first frost hits. All right, so got quite a haul here of got a few tomatoes, some of the Thai ribbed purple eggplant, a whole bunch of poblanos, Ring of Fire chili peppers, and then the lemon spice jalapenos. So not bad for not being out here for the last couple weeks. And I mean, I'm also looking at all the stuff that it's already gone bad. Lost a lot of tomatoes, so that's unfortunate. But I have already picked, I think, close to 70 pounds of tomatoes. So, you know, we've gotten a lot out of those. So still waiting on the beans to finish drying, and the scarlet runner beans to finish coming in and drying. I think somebody's got a fire going because, can you see the smoke coming through in the background? I can smell a campfire. Might be the neighbor burning something next door. But I don't know, where was I? Oh yeah, so waiting on the beans to finish up drying. We'll still keep picking poblano peppers as long as we can. There's still a ton of small ones in there, and some of them are pretty high up. It's kind of funny, I was reading today about poblano peppers, and the one article was like, yeah, poblano plants can get to be around 25 inches high. I've got a poblano plant that's over 6 feet, so I'm going to need a ladder because it's, you know, then on top of the raised bed. So I've got peppers hanging about 8 feet up, and I think I'm going to need to get a ladder to pick them. So I think it all depends on what you got going on with your soil. You know, with all the rabbit poop I put in these beds, my plants get pretty big from time to time. So really, I think that's about it for the garden update. You know, the butternut squash still coming in. We did not get any elderberries this year. Well, we did, but the birds ate them all before we got to them. We had a lot of nice bunches of elderberries, and every single one was gone. So we're going to have to be more diligent in covering them with tulle. next year to each of the flower bunches, because what we found this year is that the birds eat the berries even when they're green. Like just as soon as the berries come on, they start disappearing. We thought they would wait until they got ripe and that we would have more time, but most of the berries were gone before they ever even got close to being ripe. And then the last few ripe ones that were left, they were gone within a couple of days. So I still have to pull out plants and whatnot to make room for maybe putting in some more radishes and beets and whatnot, and maybe even some fall spinach. But I don't think I'm gonna get that today. I'm gonna have to go start processing this stuff to make sure that we don't lose any of this. So I gotta go start drying and freezing and washing and boiling and all that stuff. So anyway, thanks for stopping by and checking out the video, and please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And whatever is going on in your neck of the woods, at your homesteads and in your gardens, I hope that you are having a fantastic day. Namaste.